Well, I am going to take a breath and invite you to take a breath with me as I introduce this week's episode. So, just taking an inhale and an exhale, giving yourself permission to just do anything that brings you an ounce more comfort. I notice I'm rolling my shoulders back and just kind of giving a little wiggle. And, wherever you're listening to this podcast, I want to invite you to find your feet. That can sound silly, but just become aware of your own feet. And if they're making contact with any surface, even the soles of your shoes or the insides of your shoes, and just give yourself to the attention of noticing where you are and how you are. So I'm doing that for me, really, because I am about to leave for a solid week. And I've had so many things in preparation since we last spoke, or maybe I've already shared this with you. My husband ended up having another surgery, and he's home and doing well and recovering nicely. This recovery is expected to be about twice as long. So, and there's just been a lot for me to get ready because I'm going out of town to two different places and then coming back and leaving for 10 days. And in case you're wondering, this is for work. And then there's another surprise, but I'm not going to talk about that on the podcast because it'll air before the surprise. All right. So, how I'm introducing this podcast is absolutely perfect because in the episode that I'm about to share, there was so much going on, and there really still is. And I gave myself permission to just speak from the heart and trust the process and trust that everything was going to come together exactly as needed. So if you're still with me, thank you. Thank you for investing your time. Thank you for investing your life. We give our lives to that which we give our time. So it is no small thing if you have chosen to share some of your time, to invest some of your time with me. And if that's something that you do, like you invest time with me and we grow together, then I'm going to ask you to rate, share the podcast if it's valuable, right? Like if it's not valuable, don't share it. Why are you listening? Go do something valuable. Now, I believe that it's valuable. And for those of you who listen, I'm expecting it's going to meet you exactly where you are in some kind of way that I can't identify because, wow, just the way the universe works, the way God leads, it's magical. So enjoy another episode of Grief Heals, and thank you for sharing your time with me. Welcome to another episode of Grief Heals, the podcast where we explore how it is that grief heals us with our relationship with ourselves, with one another, and our whole wide world. I am your host, Lisa Michelle Zega, and I am excited to have another conversation. Welcome to another episode of Grief Heals. And I find myself saying this so often when I come on, right? Like a podcast where we explore how it is that grief heals. And I guess we'll be doing that in some kind of way. I just also want to invite us to recognize maybe that we're already whole, right? And to come from the perspective of the divine, right? If we are a divine human, like what is it to just come and experience the fullness of who we are in the I am, and just getting to hold the fullness of all parts, like the parts that are, I don't know, just like stumbling around, What's bringing this to mind? And maybe I've already lost you. And if I have, that's totally cool, right? And if I haven't, if you're like, wait, where is she going with this? Well, then let's find out together, because the honest truth, how redundant is that? And there it is. So I don't know. I don't know. I know what's bringing this up is watching myself have all these different kinds of reactions, watching the thoughts in the landscape of my mind, just watching myself have an experience and feeling into that. So, my hubby is due to have surgery tomorrow, an identical surgery to the one that he had. Well, not absolutely identical. It can't be identical. I'm like, that's impossible. And they are going to nuance it out. And I don't understand enough about it all to talk intelligibly. What I do know is that I'm having all kinds of feels and all kinds of my own experiences. I'm heading to the hospital like each day and going to be with him. I can watch the parts of me that are very resistant to the experience that we're having. Another part of me that's noticing and super almost playfully curious about it all, playfully curious about how intense my responses are, watching how I go to food to just navigate, how I use food to come back to a sense of, it's almost like my friend Brandon, he's got a podcast called Naming the Real. I didn't even finish the one I was listening to yesterday, but it was on arousal and then the different ways that we navigate our own sense of being aroused, energized, and how we release that energy. So I think I'll link that to this show, and yeah, for your own listening. But I'm noticing the ways that I, without thought, mindlessly process things that I'm carrying. And I also notice the part of me that very much wants to have it all together. The part of me that feels like, oh, if I admit how futile the sense of getting it all together actually is, and how much my ego functions in this desire to have things in a nice, neat package that says, I've arrived, I'm doing it well, I've healed and I'm healing and rah, rah, rah. And then this part of me, so that's the invitation that I started with of like, oh, what's it like, Lisa, to just know that the process of there's a both and, like I go through the process of development just like any living organism does, right? So just even thinking of the human being and starting in embryo and coming in all the ways that we develop, and we can't, like we can't move into a time of walking until we've had that time of crawling or something that is, developing the muscles that are going to be needed to walk, and that we don't go even to the crawling state before getting the muscles of, like, how a baby is turning over the body in the stages of development, but we don't even get to turn over before we go through that rocking from side to side, and every single stage being an aspect of what it's like to grow into the expression of moving in these new ways, right? That growing allows for. And at the same time, the baby is fully human, period. I mean, fully full, right? Like, it's like you are already whole and you're growing, and we are already whole and we are growing. And I think that sometimes this idea of healing at least gives me the illusion. It is subtly saying that somehow I'm not yet. I'm not yet. And so I got to keep going. And there is an element of that, right? Like I am continually growing and I am already whole. And so I was just thinking about like, what would it be like to explore even this whole thing about existence, about life of, okay, yeah, yes, I grow. And yes, grief is a catalyst in some ways of that growth. And in my experience, what I'm going to say, and I think in the way that I frame this for myself, grief is love. So grief is also the mirror reflection of, hey, you're already whole, you're already okay, and you are okaying. You are growing, you are wholing. And I feel really, really tender talking about this. And I think the reason why is I keep finding myself trying to squirm my way out of the human process or the human existence. It's like I just want to be, and I already am. Like I just want to be okay. I just want to be there. I just want to be like, what is that? I find myself reaching. And then I'm also finding this sense of, honey, just be where you are. Just be where you are. And even in that, I feel a pendulum because I've been coming home from the hospital each night. And the first thing I do is make some food. And it's kind of funny because right now I've been eating only fruits and vegetables. So I'm fine. So I'm like, I'm making these big things of potatoes. And then so I had told myself I wasn't going to have any oils, but I've been putting butter and salt and pepper on the potatoes and other vegetables and just kind of eating. And I know, and then I'm also watching myself do this. And I know this is like a patterning of how I have historically navigated some of just life's uncertainty. And then there's also this part that's like, hey, this isn't okay, you're not okay. And then there's this other, I'm gonna say like divine holding that's like, you're allowed to be exactly where you are and how you are. And you're allowed to trust that everything's okay. And part of me is really, really glad that I'm having this experience because so my company is called Legit You. I have second guessed that name. I originally started Legit You with another friend. And anyway, we were like spitballing names. And at the same time, we had like a domain finder up and are searching to see if that the domains are taken. And then we land on Legit You. Um, and then shortly thereafter, I ended up absorbing Legit You. She had other passion work and we split ways. And so in this refining process, I was like, well, what's the heartbeat? What is the heartbeat of what I do? And I recognized it's humanizing human. And the catalyst for that was recognizing how much my own ego and then the conditioning around us of like that ego way in our world is wanting wanting a sense of like definitive arrival, wanting to be this, not that, good, not bad, right, not wrong. And that anytime I specifically put a label on what I'm up to, it ends up being some form of straitjacket that's like, oh, now I've got to perform in such a way or else I'm going to be a phony, but which is so hilarious, right? Because it's like it's performative. And I can only be however I am at a given moment. And resisting how I'm being at a given moment doesn't actually bring me into an authentic experience. It creates more inauthenticity. So sometimes watching my patterns is painful because sometimes the story is, hey, this is not okay. And yet I get to welcome all the different parts that show up, all the different expressions that show up, because I'm very, very committed to welcoming all parts of me and all parts of humanity. And I heard it said like welcoming the predator and welcoming the victim. And that's really important to me because that's how I'm coming to see the world of like, we are all wanting love and needing love and designed for love. And oh my gosh, I heard one of the best definitions of forgiveness. And now I'm like, oh, I don't even think I'm going to be able to extrapolate it out. And I don't have it written down to be able to tell you, but I was listening to a podcast that I will also link here. And Matt Kahn is being interviewed. I didn't even know who Matt Kahn was before this person, a girlfriend of mine sent me this. But the interviewer was saying, was reflecting to him from a book he'd written. They didn't say the name of the book, so I don't know what it was to tell you here. But he was quoting Matt Kahn's definition of forgiveness back to Matt. And he was saying like, it's when someone else is putting their pain in my body and my physical cellular body, I am saying I'm no longer willing to carry this for you. And so I'm going to give it back to you, and not in a punitive kind of way, but in a way that says, you get to honor this part of your journey and be healed in it, that you do not continue to perpetuate harm, the harm of our unprocessed pain. And how did I get here? How did I even get here in what I'm saying now? I'm asking myself that. I recognize, and I'm continuing to recognize and continuing to be brought back to how much I tend to want to escape being in my own human experience, and how much and it's like this divine human experience. I do relate to myself as one in divine image who is also going through this process of recognizing that I am one with all, and also going through the nuances of that. I'm recognizing how often I want like an escape hatch, and how much getting to go through this process is such a gift. And I guess I do see like grief comes and says, I'm revealing to you the fullness of who you are. You are love, and love will catch you, and love will hold you, and love will connect with you. And love will meet you in all the places you are, in all the sense of fragmentation and obliteration. And I guess this idea that we're okay, that I'm okay, that I'm okay not being okay, that it's okay that I go through this human process, that it's okay that I get held in my wholeness, that I don't even know if this can be a podcast. I don't even know if this can be like released as a coherent episode that can be met by you. Like can our connection and can we meet here? And I'm asking, can we meet here in this place where I don't even know fully what I'm trying to say? In the duality and in the non-duality, in the process and the like process achieved, in the fullness of being, it's like I already am and I'm becoming. I am love and I'm becoming love. Grief reveals that I'm love and grief guides me to love. Like how? And is it okay if I just say, yeah, I think that's it. That's all I got. And can I trust this to go out in the universe, or do I need to go and edit it or ditch it? Or so what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to go ahead and release this to you. Just 'cause, knowing that it's incomplete, knowing that it's not refined, trusting that somehow maybe it's exactly what's needed right here in this moment. Inviting us to take a breath together. Seeing if you can come and breathe in just even more deeply. Allowing this to be exactly as it is without anything needing to change. Maybe having us meet beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, out beyond the ideas of was this episode enough or not enough? Just allowing it to be whatever it is. And trusting the process together. So I am sending so much love. I'm going to open myself up and receive the love that you are also sending. Trusting that time is not linear and that we are somehow meeting in a way that I cannot explain or understand or even fully experience. All right. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Grief Heals with Lisa Michelle Zega. The podcast is produced by me, Eric Simpson, in association with Jump Up and Down Productions. Music by Ken Delian, Drunken Nights to Sunday Mornings, and Stefan Carlin, A Calming Ocean, A Common Notion. If you would like more information about the work Lisa does, point your browsers to legityou.com. That's LEGITYOU. Lisa can also be reached at lisamichelle@legityou.com. This has been a Jump Up and Down production.